Hello and welcome to Talk Solent. It is good to have your company and we like to hear from you, so you be sure to get in touch with us at talk@solent.com. I've got three lovely men with me today. Lucky me. And they are all people who I would say make a difference to other people's lives. It's interesting really. So we'll ask them why and how. So first of all there's Rahi Baines. Now he entertains people. He sings and dances and goes on a Waz FM, and people love you.
I think so. Yes.
I think so. Yep. But he also, in his more serious moments, used to be the head teacher of a school.
Yes.
And so we'll get him to talk about a particular school in our area. It's had an outstanding from Ofsted. Alan, hello, welcome back. Now you'll remember Alan Claridge, won't you? Because before Christmas he came and talked to us about how he's going to take loads of medicines, which you kindly donated, blankets and all sorts, to Zimbabwe, because they have hospitals there that don't even have the right medicines, and we moan, I tell you. And Mark, now you make a difference to sailors, particularly through the Sailors Society.
Yes, and when you say sailors, we mean merchant seafarers. It was sailors when we started back in 1818, but what we mean is the 1.5 million seafarers who bring us 90% of everything we have.
Yes, who are sometimes quite lonely people.
Very lonely.
We'll talk some more about that in a minute, but perhaps we could, Alan, just as we gave you a great build-up in November, December to get lots and lots of stuff to take to Zimbabwe, which in itself is not always plain sailing.
Oh, no.
You went there and you did deliver this stuff, and we'll show a picture in a minute. But while you were there, you got, thank you very much for your kindness, they said, and held you up at an ATM.
Oh, yes.
With a gun.
Yeah, I was actually, this year, somebody donated a car for my use, apart from the hospital one which breaks down regularly. And so I decided to go up to Rahi, a distance of somewhere about 360 miles. I got halfway there in this lovely little car, Chevrolet, that I was using, bright green, very open, and a car pulls across me, and in it is a policeman with his police uniform on, and he said, and I couldn't hear what he was supposed to have done wrong, but he came and got in my car, and I could see in his hand he held a gun. Ooh. And he said, I want $2,000 for breaking the law. Well, the dearest fine in Zimbabwe is $20.
Ooh.
That's the dearest, so I knew he was a crook from the instant. But I said, I haven't got it. So he took me to the cash point, and I said, I'm not allowed to draw that much money out. And
brave.
I said, there's no way. And I said, you either get nothing or you get that. And so he frog marched me from the car to a cash point, and it didn't work. We then went to a second one. That worked, and I drew out $400,
which is?
It's about £360, which I could ill afford because it was my private account, not the charity's account. And I gave him the money and then reported him afterwards to the police.
Were you scared?
No, funny enough. I was trying to keep my wits about me. I've been in difficult situations over the years.
I know you
After
have.
34 years, you're bound to have a few.
I mean, you built a house which was knocked down. That
Oh,
never
yeah.
finished. I mean, life has not been plain sailing for you in Zimbabwe, but still
no.
every year you go back.
Oh, yes.
Perhaps we could just have a look at some of the things you took with us.
Yes.
Some of our wonderful viewers sent in stuff. You took medicines, didn't you?
That's
You can
right.
see there on
That's
the
just a
screen.
small selection of them. There are at least 4 or 5 times that amount.
Yeah, really?
Yes.
Now, they haven't got medicines in their hospital.
They've run out of medicines. They've got no money to buy.
Nothing?
Well, last year they had £200 in the hospital that holds 2,000 patients. This year there's been a problem in the hospital, and the head of the hospital's gone, and all the staff nearly are gone, and they're without money, even worse.
Right. And so we're just looking here, there's blankets as well.
There are over 800 blankets sent out because their bed clothes have got holes in them. And it's coming up to winter, June, July, it gets very cold and they need them. So people all over the place in Dorset, Hampshire, round Romsey Way. They've been knitting blankets all the year. And in fact, since I've been away, there's another 100 come in, and they're going with my next shipment.
It's wonderful. Do you think that could you do something like that, Rahi, if called upon, where the risks are that you might be held up or not, at the very least, not welcomed to a place?
Chrissy, my personal feeling is that looking after the population of a country should be the job of the government. Government should, if charity is needed, then the government should own or try to have the ownership of the charity, so that the government is involved in the charity. Charity can come from anywhere, but it should be with the permission of the government.
Well, I'm sure everybody would agree, wouldn't you, Mark?
Yeah. We work through the governments locally, as in the Philippines, for rebuilding, but obviously the impetus comes from us.
But in Zimbabwe?
The government, members of the government know that I'm there. They get me through on the diplomatic bag, but because of the things that go on behind the scenes, which I can't really discuss on television, it's necessary that nothing is given to the government until I arrive, and then it's done with me holding it. We've never lost one item we've been doing charity work there now for 27 years. We've never lost one item, and I put it down to the reason that it's never distributed until I get there.
Yes,
nobody ever takes
it.
it.
Must be a cooperation between the government and the charity organisation. Otherwise, money just goes into a bottomless pit.
We never send money.
No.
We never send money.
Even goods can go into wrong hands. Medicine can go into wrong hands.
Definitely.
But presumably the moneyed classes of Zimbabwe and government officials, they're getting their medicines okay.
No, they go to South Africa to get it.
Really?
Yes.
So nobody's getting anything they
No,
need.
no.
So your charity, Rivers of Living Water, isn't it?
That's right.
Is anybody else doing it besides you?
No, Zimbabwe is forgotten about. And it's very, very obvious. We look after an orphanage called the Mustard Seed. In fact, I had an email come through from them yesterday. We go in there and the little children, it's a Catholic organisation, and they're doing a terrific work and we take them medicines as well.
Have we got a picture of you handing over stuff? Or
Yes, it was on there just now, I think.
I don't know if we can get it back, but
Yeah.
so presumably they fall over themselves with joy that you've arrived.
Absolutely.
Do they every year?
Yes.
Who
the
do?
president,
Everybody.
This is the government officials. They have a certain what we call a handover time, where they order people to come, the press and everybody.
It's on the screen
and there
now.
it is now. The gentleman on the screen on the right there is from Harare. He is a government representative who receives the goods on behalf of the hospital and the whole of Zimbabwe. Next to him is the chair of local Mapilo hospital, and they're looking there at our equipment, and I'm handing over just one item just for show, but they have everything.
I would like someone to work out and see how much money the government spend on defense and how much money they spend on looking after their own people. You'll find that there is a big imbalance.
Right.
The amount of money they spend on the army and other forces, and they are buying equipment, buying guns and what have you. If a quarter or even a fraction of that money, if that was spent on buying medicine for the public or buying things that people need, I mean, that would make a big difference.
But let's say that can go for any country.
Yes,
For
of
any
course.
country. We're spending huge amounts on armaments and not on the National Health Service.
A lot of people in Britain say we shouldn't have overseas aid. We should be
right.
helping our National Health Service. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that's a false economy, because actually you see what's happening now through the disturbed regions in the Middle East. The people are pouring into our country, and they need help. And if we can help on the ground, so much the better.
Well, yeah.
And I don't believe in nationalism. Actually, I believe we belong to the human race, and we're looking after the human race.
Well, today it was announced the European Union are going to put much more money in for these migrants across, which is going to help. But you know, there's 20,000 sitting around in Greece where they can't go anywhere because of the barbed wire. Yeah, since we've got onto this subject, which is vexed, what would you do?
I don't know. They shouldn't be there in the first place, I think. They shouldn't be there.
And the trouble is, of course, with wars, you do get mass migration, don't you? And how did we get here in the first place? Mass migration, and the whole of Europe, the whole of the world really has moved by migration. I was privileged to have a DNA done in America, which went right back to the origins from Africa, which was quite interesting, and showed how mass migration has taken place. Really, in one respect, we're going through a mass migration, aren't we?
Absolutely, but wars always stir the pot and make it very difficult economically. And war is a terrible thing, not just for the immediate physical results, but for the ongoing social results in change happening too quickly.
Yeah.
That's the point.
So it is a difficult one with this, isn't it? We're all going to be asked to vote in June, and I think people are very split, aren't they, on this? Even if families seem to be split, aren't they, right?
I think it's because of the fact that there are so many issues. In certain circumstances, it's good to stay with the EU. In other areas, it's better to be out. So who decides what to do, where to stay, either 100% out or 50% in and 50% out? So that is something that we have to decide.
Yes, it's almost impossible to talk about this on the air these days because it upsets somebody, and of course balance is hugely important, particularly we're doing a television programme, and it is important that we talk
But
balance.
I'm not balanced. The programme has to be
the
balanced.
programme has to be balanced.
But I mean, to be, how many wars have we had amongst the EU countries since the Second World War? We haven't, because we've been saved from that.
So he's a yes, so we won't go around the others.
And it was Churchill's idea too.
He
wanted the...
Okay, I'm not going to go there. I think we'll go to education when we come back, and drones. There's a big fuss about drones and aeroplanes today. Southampton Airport particularly having a moan. Sunday training, and should you all work till you're 80? Right, so we'll come back and talk about that in a minute or two, and look forward to hearing their views, which are bound to be quite strident, I should think. Hello and welcome back. It's Talk Solent, and I've got three great guests with me today: Rahi Baines, Alan Claridge and Mark Warner. And let's get on to airports and drones, because this is a big story coming today. The Echo have done a big thing on this. It isn't just Southampton Airport, but they certainly were on the end of a problem, because investigators have found that they chance had played a major part in a collision being avoided. It came after a drone came within 2 wing lengths of a BE-200 aircraft as it was coming into land last July at Southampton. And other airports are reporting the same. So they're now saying, well, we've got to get rid of these drones, have we? What do you think?
Well, are they not licensed anyway?
Don't know.
But I mean, surely this could be a lethal weapon if it went into the engine of a jet engine.
That's what the British airline pilots are saying.
So surely they've got to be licensed, just like we say guns have got to be licensed in this country. And I would have thought laser torches too ought to be licensed.
Well, that's another one, isn't it?
Absolutely. These are lethal things. They've got to be licensed.
But you see, it's going to be air traffic control. Are you honestly going to make drones subject to air traffic control rules?
Couldn't they make an area around the airport where nothing is allowed to be? They used to. You couldn't take photographs around airport years ago, could you? And there were bans everywhere. Surely they should start putting up notices, and if somebody does it, then they're liable for prosecution.
23 near misses have been in just 6 months.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
If they were licensed, air traffic control would know about them. You'd tell the local air traffic control that you were doing it.
It's a lot of work for them, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's a lot of work if they're unlicensed.
Yes.
I think things will fall in place once we start looking at a problem. It is a problem now. Drones are something new.
Yes, they are.
And as more and more people start using them, then law will have to be made, and then people will start looking at it. And perhaps around the airport, as you said, there used to be, you know, a zone you could not, you know, take pictures. Similarly, you can't fly within that zone, and there are cameras now, the radar and so on. If one is spotted in the area, then, you know, do something about it.
They're saying the battery of a standard quadcopter drone entering the core of a jet engine would cause an uncontained engine failure, as happened to a BA plane when it became engulfed in flames at Las Vegas in September. I mean, it's real serious stuff.
So it is, really.
Well, that was a drone did that.
Apparently, according to
Oh my
this.
goodness me.
Gracious.
So the first thing we want to do is get a drone, or at least the critical parts of a drone, flying at a windscreen of an airport, of an aircraft. The indications so far with computer modelling are that you end up with penetration of a windscreen and on it goes into the engine or whatever.
I don't know what height these drones fly at, but of course if a plane is landing...
But geese can bring down a plane, so a drone is harder than a goose, surely.
Yeah?
Yes, that's true.
Well, I should think something will come of that, don't you?
I hope
Banning
so.
of them within a
Very short
airspace?
period.
Or a law to ban them, or the manufacturers, so that they can only go so high. You know, and something like that.
But certainly banned from around an airport when the plane is landing.
I mean, television use them a lot nowadays for productions, which is very useful. So I'm saying as long as they're licensed, you can't stop them being made, but they've got to be licensed.
Are you all happy flyers? Or no? It wouldn't get you up in one.
I do go in planes sometimes when it's
Are
necessity.
you all happy flyers? You must be to go to
Yes, I've been in a few mishaps on planes. The wheels didn't come down one day, coming into Heathrow, and
Golly.
we were on the plane, and everybody was dead silent. We knew something was wrong, and somebody came through the plane, it's many years ago, took the floor up and went underneath and wound the wheels down. And
How often do you go back to India, Rahi?
I try not to fly as, you know, if I can, but once every couple of years, something like that. You know.
Well, there you are. I dare say it won't put off the hardened, but there are more people flying on cheap airlines and all the rest of it.
of course there is.
Yeah, and Southampton, of course, has done extremely well out of it at Southampton Airport, and is taking stuff from Bournemouth now,
That's
isn't
right.
it?
Yes, because Flyby's closing down in Bournemouth.
Yeah.
We've still got a lot of flights coming down.
Yeah. Well, now, when you were in your other life, Rahi, you were, a hard man in charge of a school. Doesn't look like it. No, you were a lovely man.
But, people, my students used to think I was hard.
Did they?
Yes.
What discipline? You were,
Yes.
Yes.
Discipline. But I'm a really softie.
A real softie. Well, now perhaps you can explain to us, the news, the Portsmouth News has today gone very big on this story about a school in Portsmouth, which is where, because you were at which school?
In Ealing, but then I was in Southampton as well.
Southampton, which one?
Mount Pleasant.
Mount Pleasant.
Yeah.
Okay, well this is a Portsmouth school. Interestingly, it's a faith school, which St Edmund's Catholic School became the first secondary in Portsmouth in 7 years to be rated as outstanding in all areas by Ofsted. So there's lots of fuss going on about this, and it struck me, you know, is it that difficult to get an outstanding for a school these days?
It's Ofsted, they have their, tick boxes. And if you tick all the boxes, you are good. So this particular school must have done well, and to be publicized, it's good for the school and also good for other schools as well, because they can look at this particular one. Is it St Edmund's, do you say?
St Edmund's Catholic
School. They can look at this school and say, what did they do right? And why aren't we doing that? And I'm sure the school will help them to,
Well, it's interesting. The City Council leader, Councillor Donna Jones, says exactly that.
Yes.
She says she believes it will lead schools across the city to raise their game.
Yes.
But what do they need to do to raise their game?
My daughter's a head teacher as well, and she said it's very hard to get all the boxes ticked. She went into an outstanding school, but of course some of it's difficult with the parents, but it is difficult to do it. But it was very interesting. In the Bournemouth Daily Echo today, they put a piece in there about the children wanting the schools, because you know there's a lot don't get in the schools they want to now, and they said the only schools that are oversubscribed are church schools.
Yep.
Because of the quality of their education.
Okay, why?
Well, I was the governor of one of the church schools, and quite honestly, the input into it, the Bishop of Winchester in Bournemouth, and it was a failed school when it started, and the work the teachers had to put in, the time they had to give, until they brought that school up to standard. So it's a lot of work, I think, to achieve it.
Yeah, and
Would you
I
agree?
also think faith schools are more disciplined. There is more discipline in there, I think.
From the staff?
Yeah, from staff and from the parents and the children, because it's a faith school, so religion plays a good part in there, positive part.
So faith, yes, discipline and religion, do they sit together?
Discipline in a loving discipline, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do they?
Yes.
So you can't have it without the faith. You could, surely schools would, watching this will say, but we have all that, we haven't got a faith school.
Yes, but we're talking in generalities. If you take averages, that there will be more discipline in faith families
Well,
than there will be
That
on
throws up
average.
quite a big can of worms, really.
It does, Chrissy, because the families that send their children to faith schools must believe in a faith themselves. And if the family believes in a faith, then discipline comes in automatically.
Self-discipline
that's what I
or
believe.
discipline from the family comes
From the family,
So
and then self-discipline is inculcated in the children.
So it's a difficult word, that discipline. I mean, it has all sorts of connotations. People being beaten across the legs with a
Well,
cane.
I was
or
as a child.
shouted at.
I got the cane regularly.
At school?
But, yes, but I certainly wouldn't advocate it nowadays
You wouldn't?
at all, no.
Did it change you?
Well, I don't know how much it changed me, but I'm sure it wasn't, well, it didn't change me for the better, I don't think.
You see this problem of trying to put religion next to things like discipline when it comes to schools, when other people would say, hey, we're atheists, but we understand the word discipline. We
I'm sure a lot do, but we're just talking about averages across the board. I mean, I was a teacher once, and I think teachers do an amazing job. And nowadays, the pressures from all the testing that they have to do on the children, in fact, they need administrative backup to help them so that they can just get on with teaching.
But the teachers are exhausted when
I know.
you talk
Yes,
to them.
exactly.
They work
That's what I'm
all
saying.
weekends.
Yeah, my daughter-
all
My
evening
daughter's
till
a
late.
teacher too.
Yeah.
Just, is it necessary for the teachers to be completely worn out? Because that's how they
And
get
they
it.
leave the profession as a result.
Yes, they do.
Yes, and of course standards of education have come up since we were at school by so far.
But Rahi, it wasn't the case when you were a head teacher, was it?
It was.
It was?
Yeah, when I started teaching, then you could go in school about 8:45. Then be in the classroom, get ready, children come in at 9, children leave at 3, and you left before 3:30. But these days, you'll find teachers in school with the cleaners. The cleaners start at 7 o'clock. Teachers are there doing preparation and doing everything. And when the children leave at 3 o'clock, teachers don't. Teachers are still there at 5:30, 6 o'clock.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be seen as a bit of a doddle of a job.
Yeah.
With all those holidays people used to talk about. It's not, is it?
No,
No,
not
it's
at
not
all.
anymore.
Not at all.
Well, then that ought to reflect well on all our children's
Yeah.
Well, let's hope
lives.
so.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, that's good. We'll come back in a minute. Now, Rahi, apart from being a head teacher, you are busy entertaining people on a new radio station.
That's right. A new radio station has opened up.
We are going to have to talk about that when we come back off the break.
Right.
And I'm going to ask you, gentlemen, how you feel about working till you're 80, because that's in the news today. So, right, to which you'll say, no trouble, no trouble. We'll also talk about Sunday trading. And can the police being able to hack into your mobile? Oh, yes. And another good one for you, as we've got an all-male panel, and that is doctors are saying that rugby tackling, schools must ban it on young people. Because presumably, while we're going to the break, I'll read
Brain
this,
damage.
but some do their bones and growing up and how dangerous it
damage.
is. Yeah. Oh, I can see Rahi shaking his head. So, okay, we'll come back in a minute and talk about all that. Hello, welcome back. Yes, I've got Mark Warner here. He's a Rev and he looks after sailors because all over the world there are lonely sailors.
Absolutely, 1.5 million of them, and they come from many countries, and most of them are 9 to 12 months away from home. So they're missing their family are missing them.
Yep.
And when something like a typhoon happens in the Philippines, they don't know whether they've got a home or a family left. And so sometimes the role of our chaplains around the world is very important to actually get them in contact with their home, give them free phone cards when there's a tragedy going on, and tell them how they can get in touch because all the phone lines were down.
It's wonderful.
And we're rebuilding homes there in the
Do you
Philippines at
depend
the
on
moment.
public donations to the Sailors Society?
Yeah,
Yep.
public and private donations. We don't get any public money.
No.
It's all...
It's all...
yeah.
There's
So
lots
that's
about...
my role, is going around telling people about it, and
Right.
coming to
Well, you've
groups and churches
just
and
told
whatever.
thousands of people. They'll all give you money, perhaps.
And we're on sailorsociety.org. Our website is sailors-society.org, so you can get in contact
Great.
with us.
We're also with Alan Claridge today. You remember him from November, December. He's since then been to Zimbabwe, had a successful run with lots of medicines for people who didn't have any.
No, also, a lot more hospitals have got water now.
Yes, isn't that
Because
great?
putting the
It's all
equipment
for
in.
purifying tablets.
Yeah, no, the equipment.
Equipment.
I shipped out enough to do 7 hospitals.
Isn't that fantastic?
And I did 2 major ones most of the time I was there, and there was enough to get 300 litres of water every 30 minutes at those hospitals.
We take these things so much for granted. Now, Rahi, we were talking about you in your role as a headmaster, head teacher when you were at Mount Pleasant School and so on in Southampton. But you've now become an entertainer. You're a song and dance man. What's that all about?
I am. I've always been a musician and a singer. And now that I'm not teaching anymore, I'm devoting all my time to music, composing music, recording, entertaining. And recently, I've also started doing some radio work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where can we hear you?
You can hear me on DAB radio at the moment. The name is Awaz FM. Awaz FM, the studios are in Southampton, but the transmitter is in Portsmouth.
Right.
So-
and being DAB, it goes quite a distance.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, you can pick it up in Southampton as well. But as far as Petersfield and Chichester, it's there.
So is it Indian music?
Not mainly Indian music. I think 7 or 8 different languages are catered
But what instruments do you play?
for. I sing.
Oh, sing,
He's a
right,
singer.
right, sing,
Basically,
yes.
I sing.
We should have to get you on here giving us a song one of
Oh,
these
yeah,
days.
yeah,
That'd be fun, wouldn't
Yes,
it?
yeah.
Okay, what time are you on so people can pick it up?
Right, you can pick me up on Tuesday mornings starting 10 o'clock, and I'm on DAB radio between 10 and 12:30.
Right, you go to Awaz FM on DAB, but people have to, it doesn't work on FM radio unless you've got, is that right? You've got to have a DAB radio.
DAB radio,
Yeah.
or you can pick me up on the internet.
Oh, yes.
Yes, awazfm.co.uk.
Okay.
Listen live, and it's there.
Tuesday at 10, that's marvellous. Well now, obviously you're quite happy to do that till you're 80 years old, aren't you?
Oh, even beyond that, if I'm still breathing.
The reason I mention it is there's something in the paper today, isn't there, about us all
Going on.
logging on till we're 80 plus.
I
How do you
think it's not giving anyone away any secrets to say that we all are past retirement age. I'm not talking about you, Chrissy. I'm talking
Right, how sensible of you.
but we three are. Well, I've gone 2 years into it,
Yep.
and I love the work so much. But I will have to retire at some point because my wife needs help at home more. We run a B&B at the moment, or she does, and she needs help with the garden. So there will come a time when I've accrued enough
But you're a Rev.
So I never retire.
So Revs never retire.
we never
No,
retire.
not
It's a
literally.
vocation, isn't it?
No.
I mean, you're called to do it.
But driving so much takes a lot out of you, so it'll be more local, I should think, when I retire.
I mean, is there a point at which your bishops or archdeacons, whoever they are, look at you and go, oh no, not him again?
No, that happened to me at the United Reformed Church. I was suggested when I reached the young age of 70 that I stood down, mainly because they wanted to close the church and link up with another one, which I did and took over another church. But one of the things my doctor said to me, and this was only a very short time ago, he's now retired at 50 something, he said to me, if you ever retire, Alan, you'll die. And my grandfather, he worked full time until he was, I think it was 92. He retired because the person died, he was looking after their garden, and he lived for 3 weeks. Because that interest in work, I think it depends on your mentality a lot and your physical health.
Very much.
Some people couldn't work till 80, others are hopefully working past 80.
So perhaps the word retire is it a bit emotive? Is it
Not
misleading?
precise enough,
It
is it?
is misleading.
Yes, it is.
Retirement doesn't mean you sit on your settee in front of the telly and twiddle your thumbs and become a vegetable till you die. No. In my book, retirement means you are doing something different. You are not bound by the clock. You don't have to be on duty at a certain time. This is your pleasure time. You do different things because you enjoy doing them.
But you do talk to people who've clocked into a job all their working life. Maybe they've got a pension, whatever, well, they've got a state pension, and they don't know how to do something else because they've never done something else.
I think nowadays people are moving from different types of job and changing their careers, so they do have more interests. But in the old days, there were people that did a job all their life and didn't have time even for outside interests. It's wonderful that one does have other interests and things that come out of your job, which
Well, there's two
like
things.
radio and television.
Well, like radio and television, except of course there's this thing called ageism, isn't there?
Yes.
Where people go, ooh, is that person too old to do X, Y, Z? But then, of course, the saviour to that is volunteering.
There are more, I believe, there are more associations and more opportunities for people to do community work. Work you don't get paid for, but the work gives you a lot of satisfaction.
I could mention the whole role of like street chaplains and so on. The church or faith groups going out into society makes a huge difference to the life of that faith group.
Exactly.
It's not looking in on itself.
Yeah, policing, for example, you know, there are community policemen, policewomen. They don't get paid, but they are, patrolling the community and doing the job of a police person.
So you're saying you should always try and do something rather than sit on the sofa, are you?
Well, not should, but you have that choice to.
You have that choice.
But are we getting ready for it to have that choice, or have we just done so much intense work that we don't have our other interests developed? That's the worry, isn't it?
Are we scared of going into a new pastures?
My manager at the Sailor Society said he will organise my retirement gradually so that I can go into it in a gradual way and get ready for it. And the Baptist Union for Baptist Ministers has a retirement preparation course as well.
Lots of people do now. A company that I worked for many years ago, in the retirement, when they approached retirement, they didn't work the full week. They worked 3 days, then 2 days, so that your life becomes climatized to a different way of living.
Exactly.
And some people don't know how to relax. I'm always accused of that, but people don't, because there's too many interesting things in the world to keep.
How do you three relax then? Rahi?
I relax with my music. You know, I've got a little den. I go in there, I've got my computer, I compose, I record, I do experiments, and I practice, I perform. So it's music all the time.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, I relax perhaps once or twice a week watching an Agatha Christie or a whodunit. I like whodunits, but the trouble is I usually fall asleep and then I don't know who did it at the end.
Nothing wrong in that.
So I love keeping up to date with theology. I read a lot, but I love walking as well, which helps me with my slimming world because I've managed to lose 3 stone this year.
Gosh.
And but those are good things. But I also would like to do more radio work, and I've got equipment, professional type equipment, and perhaps I might do more with Hope FM, to mention another.
That's a Christian station down
in Bournemouth.
In Bournemouth. And of course you are now doing radio.
I am. Yes.
Lots of stations now want volunteers, so it has opened new. Maybe someone watching this has thought, yeah, maybe I can have a go at that. Because and a lot of the volunteers are needed for all sorts of things.
They are.
But of course the question is you might have to work on Sundays, and that's come up in the news, hasn't it?
George Osborne has been saying it doesn't matter at all, you can work, it won't make any difference to family life. Of course it will make a difference to family life if the shops stay open all day long, just like any other day. You need a day, I'm not saying this from a sort of church point of view, but you need a day when the family can get together, and if everyone's working on different days they don't get together, and that downgrades the family. And the more people that work, buses, taxis, everything, police, everyone's being involved in that work, and it makes it very, very difficult.
Well, we work on a Sunday because we're ministers.
Yeah. Some people have to work,
yeah. Some people do have to work, there's no doubt about that. But it does affect even the church, because whereas years ago, on Sundays, we had young people that were there. Now there's football matches, they're working, and it's very difficult to come together as a church family, let alone the home family.
Well, if you're earning money on the tills at Sainsbury's on a Sundays, that's fair enough, isn't it, I'm afraid, if you need the money.
But you're not going to earn more in 7 days than you are in 6 days. That's the thing. More is not sold in 7 days than 6 days. It's just fear of the competition that you have to stay open.
We've got to go and take another break.
Right. Sorry, I was going to say that for me, it doesn't matter. Sundays, Tuesdays, I perform. So usually people get together over the weekends, and I'm working over the weekends.
Interesting. All right. Well, we'll come back then and we'll talk about schools. Big story today about doctors have written saying schools must ban tackling in rugby. So we'll come back and talk about that in a minute. Hello, welcome back. I've got Rahi Baines, I've got Alan Claridge and Mark Warner with me. Lucky me. I probably need a doctor as well, actually, but none of you are medically qualified, are you?
No.
That's a shame, because one of the big stories in the papers today is about our children playing rugby. Well, I don't know whether... The argument goes, leading doctors have called for a ban on full contact rugby because they say the risk of serious injury is too high. And when you read on, it is pretty horrible. They say high impact collision sport, high on injuries, that it can have a lifelong effect on people, particularly if they bang their heads. It can lead to depression and memory loss and heaven knows what. And I'm just wondering, if I start with you, you must be, as a head teacher of the school, you must have been quite pro exercise, but what about rugby?
Rugby is a game, it's a tackling game. So, I mean, how can you play rugby and not tackle? Right? Tackling, there are rules of tackling as well. Rugby, it looks rough, but it actually isn't.
I was just reminded, touch rugby and tag rugby, they are less aggressive.
They are for children, but as you grow up, as secondary schools, then tackling is there, and it should be there. That's part of the game.
Yeah.
But there are rules that govern.
But this is about children. It's about under 18s, they're saying. Under 18s being vulnerable.
There you go, yes. I think this has been brought around. I could be wrong. It's because of the blame and claim culture of these days. A child gets a concussion and then it's the school's fault.
What do you think?
Well, I think the number of concussions that happen as a result of rugby, I think the doctor who brought up was very clear that it's unacceptably high. Every concussion can cause brain damage, like other contact sports like boxing, and it's not acceptable to have a sport which actually could ruin the health of a child. So why can't we have more of the, well, as the juniors do, touch. Like there are other sports, aren't there, like netball, which are non-contact and very exciting sports. And for some reason they're not in the Olympics. But this is the way forward.
Of course, you can get injuries from cricket and such like.
Oh, indeed, yeah.
And I've certainly seen somebody knocked out playing cricket at school.
And hockey.
Yes.
But you're not aiming at the head. You've got visors over the head, if they're proper visors.
Well, they might do these days, but
Yeah,
of course I never played rugby because we didn't have rugby at our school. We used to play football. We used to get injuries in that, and I think all children get injuries. And
Yeah, it's a broken bones and so on. That's
But
part
why
of
make
growing
it
up.
worse? We live in a violent society, and this is just something which can make it worse, I believe.
Well, they've joined in, a lot of rugby clubs are joining a 3-year study of players' responses to head impacts. Dr. Andrew Murray, who's a consultant in sports and exercise medicine at Edinburgh, says physical inactivity is one of the biggest public health challenges of the 21st century. Stopping rugby would be counterproductive.
Well, who's talking about stopping rugby? He's saying changing the way, the tackling and so on. And who's talking about stopping physical activity? We want lots of physical activity. I just mentioned another sport, but it's how much you're aiming at the head, really, that matters, and the neck.
surely probably the best thing is that they're now looking at it, and then they can make recommendations of what they do, not stopping, just making recommendations.
Do you think we are a bit sort of lily-livered, easygoing on our children? Do
yeah,
we
I
actually...
think
In some ways, yes.
Yes, put cotton wool round the children and protect them from all evils, of
I agree that we do protect them too much
Yeah.
from many things, like our children can't go out in the street anymore. We do need to be a bit freer with our children, but things that are deliberately tackling and damaging.
Yeah, when we were young, we used to climb trees and all sorts of things. Then health and safety comes along, and
Yeah, I love climbing trees, and our children climb
so
trees.
did I. I've fallen out of many.
I'm not against that. I got nearly hung on a tree as a child.
But so trouble is, I think one of the problems why children can't get out, of course, is because of the things that happen these days that we probably never even knew of in our childhood.
I know, don't tell me.
And I think people hear about it and get the ideas.
Well, it's interesting. Health, so you have a health story like this. In Portsmouth News today, there's a health story of another kind, saying there's a site in Hampshire which has been chosen as a healthy living centre. And they've proved that apparently the areas of Whitehill and Borden in East Hampshire, people live better. So they want now, the health service will have a role in planning these new towns, can you believe this, which will provide more than 76,000 homes across Britain. And the idea is to tackle obesity and help people with dementia. So they're going to have these areas free of fast food, designing safe and appealing green spaces, and creating dementia-friendly streets.
The trouble is using our health money for something else other than medicines, operations and such like.
Can you really design an area? It sounds like sort of perfect world, doesn't it, where people live in an unreal society.
Utopia.
Never being able
Cotton wool, as you said.
Yeah, the thing is with fast food, the fast food came about because people didn't have time to cook. So give people time to cook, they'll cook. My wife always cooks curries and chapatis and always I eat home cooked food.
Delicious. Can we come round?
Any time.
Ooh,
anytime.
curry.
But in many homes, I know evening meals are not cooked. They are bought or takeaways and so on.
Yeah.
And the fast foods, lunch, go and grab something, bun or something. No. Take your sandwiches with you to work,
I think this is almost a sort of, I thought it was April the 1st for a minute. I thought it was such a joke. A Hampshire community picked as a healthy town. So everybody's going to be watched for how they're behaving. Big Brother will be there to make sure you haven't bought a McDonald's.
But what exactly is a dementia-free street? That's what I'd like to know.
Well, I'm sure we'd all like to know that.
Yes, I'm sure we would.
The papers are full of what you should be eating to avoid it today, which is no news to us all. I mean, it's fresh, lots of vegetables, nuts, and walk a lot. You'd be much approved of in this.
Dark chocolate's good for the brain.
Dark chocolate. But as for setting up a whole housing place in Hampshire where all these people are going to live perfectly, see, this isn't human nature, is it?
Sounds like science fiction.
We quite like to occasionally abuse our bodies.
That's right.
Well, occasionally, you know, you go out and, you know, have a restaurant meal and so on. Occasionally, it doesn't hurt you.
Feast
It's when
times.
regularly you eat fish and chips, regularly, every day, day in, day out.
Just Fridays.
It's a place for feasting sometimes, but not all the time.
Not all the time.
So we don't have any drinkers or smokers in our midst today.
What? Drink? I don't smoke.
I don't smoke.
Don't smoke.
Don't
Why
smoke.
do you say don't drink?
No, right? No smokers.
No smokers.
No smokers. No.
Drink. Yes, the odd bevy.
Occasional. Yeah, by all means.
But of course, Prince Charles set up a whole village in Dorset, which was supposed to be the ideal
He did.
place, didn't he? In
What was it
Dorchester. It's been
Yeah.
racking my brain, but
Anybody
I've
tell us?
got a senior moment at the
I
moment.
have
But,
too. We've all got senior moments. But it started off looking a bit sterile,
yeah.
but I think it's beginning to grow into community. But just to start something like
Oh, it
that
was.
instantly is...
Have they got McDonald's there yet?
I don't know. No, there's nothing much in there at all.
Just they'll set one up
Yeah.
on the outskirts.
Yeah.
Something berry. It's something berry.
Poundberry.
Poundbury. That's it.
Between us, we've
There, we've
Yeah.
done it.
Yeah.
So, right, so you're not in favour of this then? So we'll write to the news and write to the
Well,
health authorities.
It was
and
on
say,
Sky News last night. They did a big piece on it altogether, and it was quite...
It just sounds
Eye-opening.
far-fetched the way they're putting it there.
Healthy New Towns, we're told by Head of Policy and Public Affairs at the Alzheimer's Society, has the potential to stimulate a housing revolution which sees creation of homes to enable people to live independently. I think the point he's making about it is that people get very isolated and lonely, so that if you had a community where everybody understood the illness, that would help them.
It just sounds a bit like The Prisoner, though. You know, it sounds like that village where they can't get out.
Perfect.
Portmeirion. Yes.
Portmeirion.
Yes.
Perfect lives. Right, that one's going to be spiked for today then. We don't like that one. And, okay, now what else was I going to ask you about?
Mobiles.
Hacking into your mobiles. It is a
right.
bit of an irony, isn't it, where Apple have said they won't allow the FBI to get into somebody's phone. And yet, here today, they're saying the Investigation Powers Bill will probably grant police and security services surveillance rights to get into your phone and computer. How do you feel about that? Anything to hide, gentlemen?
No, we're doing the opposite, actually. If I can just bring out the opposite, we're getting a chaplaincy app to help people communicate around the world, and including seafarers will have their own version of it. So we want communication to... But maybe there are people that don't want people to know what's on their computers.
People can be very private, can't they? You know, it's like the old addict, you don't ask a lady her age and things like that. I know that's very basic, but a lot of people don't want all their personal details being shown all over the place.
And isn't it true?
Not necessarily they're wrong, but it's...
Some people have lots of mobiles. I mean, you know, if you're going to hide something, wouldn't you have lots of mobiles? I don't know.
I don't quite know. I don't know enough about it.
I only have one, even that one I can't
Yes.
use properly.
Exactly.
Yes, I have.
My
So you
grandchildren.
wouldn't,
Yes, that's
you wouldn't
right.
object to them going into the back of your mobile then?
No,
and see?
not at all. There's nothing there that I want to hide. And if you want to hide something, you'll hide it. I mean, you don't have to keep it in your mobile or in your computer.
Dig a hole in the garden and bury it.
Well, I think they're trying to, aren't they, to pin down not just terrorists but paedophiles, criminals who plot secretly, all this kind of thing. And
Yeah.
people will always find a way, won't they? I suppose.
I remember many years ago, the tax man called, and he said to me, "We believe that you've got a lot of money in Zimbabwe, and we want to tax you on it." And I turned to him and said, "If you find it, We'll share it.
We'll have,
And I was arrested.
well, we'll hear more on that story when he comes back. What happened to Alan Quaritch? Well, we've got to go though. Thank you very much indeed. You've been a great panel. And no doubt we'll ask them all back again because they've got on beautifully well. We hope you have a lovely day and we'll see you tomorrow. All right? Bye-bye for me.